Hi, I'm Ilana. Welcome to my booktube channel. Today we're gonna talk about the mid-year freakout tag. I'm actually having such a good summer. I feel so refreshed and I'm so happy to look back on my reading year so far. I know it's July, so it's a little late, but this is when I could do it. I'm having a delicious brown sugar latte with boba. I hope that you have a nice beverage as well, and we are gonna get started. So the first prompt is a little bit vague, and it is, how is your reading year going? My reading year is going pretty well. I didn't set any number goals on Storygraph, but that being said, I do have two goals that do require me to read a total of 34 books. The first goal that I really want to hit is reading 10 books in 10 decades. I feel like I've done it the past 3 years or something. I really want to read backlists, and this challenge was created by Reggie Reads, and I'm going to show you how I'm doing with that, which is pretty good. I've read 8 out of the 10 decades, and I haven't really been as intentional about it. I literally just looked up all the books I had read on Storygraph so far this year, and I sorted it by publication date. To make things a little harder, I might not use the 2020s as a decade, but we'll see how that goes. But right now it is smooth sailing. The second challenge that I set for myself was to read 24 books by women in translation in 2024. It is a challenge created by Hey Juliana Hey over on Instagram, and for that one I think I am a little bit over 50% of the way done. I absolutely love this challenge. I think it has broadened my reading tremendously, and I will hopefully complete it this year. Last year I was short like 7 books or something, and this year I really want to complete it, and hopefully in 2025 I can complete the challenge again and read 25 women in translation books, but we'll see. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Later in this video I'll talk a little bit more about what my reading goals look like for the rest of the year. The second question in this tag is really challenging because it is the best book I've read so far this year. I have read some really good books. I am not going to lie though, I don't think that at this point in the year I have read any book where I have been like, this is an all-time favorite, but that doesn't mean that the books aren't worthy. I just feel like last year I had such an amazing reading year because I was finally figuring out what I liked, and I discovered so many new authors, and this year I have been also exploring, but I haven't been as successful in finding those favorites. But if I had to choose close to favorites, the first one I would choose would be Migrations by Charlotte McConaughey. Here it is. And this book really took me by surprise. It was a book that I read in a snow day where there was actually no snow. There was a lot of snow forecasted, but none of it came. I tandem read and audiobooked it, and I was gripped from start to finish. Well, that might be a lie. The first like 10 pages I was like, what is going on? This is so slow. And then it got really good. This book is from a genre that I hadn't heard of, sci-fi or climate science fiction. And this book follows a woman in the not so distant future when the world is ending because of climate change as she tracks Arctic terns in their last migration. This is not the typical book that I like to read, but it was so dramatic and it really hooked me, and that is maybe the first time this year where I've been like, oh my god, I need to finish this book. And so because I could marathon it, it is close to a favorite. It's not perfect by any means, and it uses a plot device that I despise, but I'll forgive it because it really did hook me. The second book that I would also consider one of the best books I've read this year is Adania Shibli's Minor Detail. It's a book that is translated from Arabic, and it is a Palestinian book that follows 2 stories. In one of the perspectives, we're in the mind of a Zionist in the past, in an event where there is death and destruction and a horrible act committed against a Palestinian girl. And then in the present day, we follow a journalist, a Palestinian journalist, who is a woman, who is trying to uncover the facts of this like minor detail. This book was really challenging to read in that it was gut-wrenching, but it was also expertly crafted, and every sentence was there for a reason. And I just really appreciate when an author can make you feel so many emotions in such few pages, because this was a tiny, I believe. And the last book that I would consider a favorite or a close to favorite is the autobiography of Malcolm X. I feel like this is cheating. It is a classic for a reason. It was a book that I took my time with. It is a book that has a little bit of everything. I loved following the story of this revolutionary leader and all that he did for Black rights in the United States. I think this is a necessary read for anybody living in the United States or anybody who wants to learn more about the way our country works or doesn't work. The next question is best sequel, but we're not gonna do that one. We are gonna instead do books that you are still in the middle of. So these were books that I started reading and then I stopped reading and then I put them back on my shelf, and I haven't forgotten about them, but I have been maybe too intimidated or I haven't found the right time to finish them. And we'll start from the one that I started the earliest. The first book is The Right to Sex by Amiya Srinivasan. I lost the dust jacket for this one because I took it out and I just like put it in my bag. I am like halfway through it. This is a feminist book about, you guessed it, sex. And it is really eye-opening. If I had to describe it in one word, I would say that it is provocative. It's a collection of essays, and I vividly remember reading the first one. The first one is called The Conspiracy Against Men, and it talks a lot about how there's so much rhetoric around believing women when it comes to sexual assault, and yet so many Black men have been killed or incarcerated because of the false accusations of white women, including Emmett Till. And so it was just something that I hadn't thought about when we say believe women. And so I am really intrigued by this collection. I need to add it to a TBR and maybe finish it next month or something. I did take a lot of notes, so I think this is the kind of book, luckily, that I can just go back in and finish the essays that I have left. The second book that I started that I am in the middle of still, and it's been months, is Durga Chubose's Too Much and Not the Mood. I think that these essays have really big brain energy, and I was just a little bit too intimidated by the contents of these essays. I think I stopped reading in page 32, and it's in the middle of one of the essays, the first essay actually. So I think I'm gonna go back and start it over. I just felt like I didn't have the attention span to finish this, but it is about, I don't know what it's about. It's about being an artist. It's prose that reads like poetry. It is lyrical. It's honestly the kind of book that I probably have time to really absorb during the summer when I am only working part-time. So again, this is one that I'm gonna try to finish. And I know that it's a favorite on here, so I really wanna read it and give it the attention that it deserves. The third book that I am not done reading, that I started and I'm in the middle of, is Upstream by Mary Oliver. I started this book in Costa Rica. The parts that I did read, I read them entirely outside, and I am currently on page 77 out of 175, so I have 100 pages left. My goal is to finish this completely outside. This is an essay collection about nature by this noted poet, and it is beautiful. I do have to say that this is also really kooky. Like, Mary Oliver writes about how she went outside and got on all fours and pretended to be an animal. But I dig that, so. The next prompt is new releases to read. I have 3 books. The first one is I'm Mostly Here to Enjoy Myself by Glynis McNichol. I impulsively bought this hardcover new release in Miami because I went to Books and Books and I wanted to support an indie bookshop. I also had this on my radar. It is about a woman who goes to Paris in 2021. It's a memoir, and she is in her 40s, I believe, and just wants to have a lot of sex and eat good food and have the time of her life. This one I hope to start really soon, maybe even today, because my goal is, if I don't like it, I can just sell it. A lot of used bookstores do not take hardcovers once they come out in paperback, which makes sense. And this one is so recent that I will not have an issue selling it. But I'm hoping that that won't be the case. The next new release that I am eager to read is Oye by Melissa Mogollon. This book comes highly recommended by so many people, including Monica from Dog-Eared Musings. And it centers 2 sisters, or maybe it's women in a family, and it's all told in one-sided phone conversations, if I'm not mistaken. And it's all like chisme, it's all gossip, it's all bochinche. I do have to be honest and say that I got this from the library right when it came out, and I started reading it, and the writing style was a little bit grating. It read very YA, and I love YA, don't get me wrong, but I just wasn't in the mood for that. It felt like way too hip. So I think that I'm gonna give it another chance, perhaps listen to it on audio or like check it out again when I'm in the mood for it, perhaps sometime soon. I feel like it's so well regarded and it has a really pretty cover, and I just want to give it another chance. And the last book I am also hoping to be in the right mindset for soon, and it is Ordinary Human Failings by Megan Nolan. I really enjoyed, though that might be the wrong word, I really appreciated her first book, Acts of Desperation. This one is fiction also, but it's more true crime inspired, and I'm just really curious about it because I have also heard good things. The next section is biggest surprises, and I don't want you to click off this video, but my greatest surprise, hands down, was reading Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. I did not expect to like this book at all. I read it because a student was reading it and they asked me to read it with them. I know that it's a really sketchy relationship and the age gap is really messed up, but I just feel like it just captured how stupid we get when we fall in love or when we fall for someone, and I just felt like it was crafted really beautifully as well. And it pains me to say this because I do not like reading books by men. And then the second book that surprised me, I haven't talked about yet in any wrap-ups because I read it in June, but it was Milk Blood Heat, a short story collection set in Florida that captures Black girlhood. This book was recommended to me by my friend Emma. Thank you, Emma, so much, because the writing in this book was so edgy and hot and just wonderful. So cannot recommend that book enough, and I'll talk more about it in future videos. Truthfully, I think I'd never pick this book up because the cover is just so damn ugly, and this book is proof that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Our next prompt is favorite new author, and I feel kind of silly saying this because last year my favorite authors were like Annie Ernaux, Jamaica Kincaid, L.M. Montgomery. This year I don't have a favorite author as of right now, but so an author who is an auto check out their book from the library for me is Ellie Hazelwood. I've just read 2 of her books and I've just been getting such a kick out of them. I feel like she doesn't take herself seriously. I feel like her books are just fun, and sometimes you need a little romance in your life. So far this year I've read Not in Love and Love on the Brain by her. On audio they were just so good, and people need to stop hating on romances and romance authors because the romance industry is alive and well and it's very lucrative, and the revenue from those books is what actually helps to fund literary fiction in some big publishing houses, or at least that's what I've heard. But yeah, sometimes you need a little pick-me-up. She's not a favorite, but she's an author that I know that if I read her books, I will enjoy them. Yeah. So the next prompt that I have added myself is your favorite new genres, and for this one I actually have 2. I have really been enjoying short story collections this year. I absolutely loved They Fell Like Stars from the Sky, What You're Looking For Is in the Library, which is kind of like a short story collection, and Milk Blood Heat. I think that this might be the year of the short story for me because I really have enjoyed all of the ones that I've read, and I want to continue reading the short story collections in my shelves. I feel like oftentimes short story collections feel uneven, but the ones that I have read have all been really good. So I just want to continue chasing that. I also think that they're great for reading before bed or reading in a flight or when you're traveling, especially the short stories that feel really intimate. I like being able to get inside the minds of characters and witness these very intimate moments in people's lives and have them mean something in such a short amount of pages. So that's what really intrigues me about short story collections. The second favorite new genre this year, which I don't even know if it's new, I've really been gravitating towards books about books and bookstores, including, like I said, What You Are Looking For Is in the Library, Welcome to the Hunongdong Bookstore, bookstore and days at the Murasaki bookshop. So I just want to continue holding on to those cozy books because they give me the warm and fuzzies. I feel like my prompts are all mixed up, but next I have what is in my TBR for the second half of the year. These are books that haven't been released as of right now. Today is July 17th. And the first one is Catalina, and it is written by Carla Cornejo Villavicencio, who is the author of The Undocumented Americans. This book is a campus novel. I've wanted to read a campus novel for the longest time, and it follows an undocumented teenager named Catalina, I think, who is from Ecuador, who gets admitted into Harvard. Carla Cornejo Villavicencio is really witty and sharp in her writing. The Undocumented Americans is creative nonfiction, and she just blew me away with her writing style and her crafting, so I'm really curious as to how her fiction will be. I am just really looking forward to this one. And the second book that is releasing in the second half of 2024 that I am so excited to read is Intermezzo by Sally Rooney because I'm basic. But we'll see. It's like long and it's about men, so who knows if I'll like it, and who knows how long it'll take me to get to read it. I think I'm gonna check it out at the library. Next, we have the biggest disappointments of the year, and hands down my biggest disappointment was Interesting Facts About Space by Emily Austen. This book just tried way too hard to be quirky. It's overrated. I felt like it was pointless, and that's all I want to say about that. I talked about it in one of my wrap-ups. Another really big disappointment for me, and I hate to say it, but it's a recent DNF, and it's Anne's House of Dreams, which is the fourth book or the fifth book, it depends on who you're asking, in the Anne of Green Gables series. I felt like it was such a downer, and it just put me in such a bad mood. I had been saving up all the Anne books to read before bed, and something really sad happens during this book, and Anne just gets so domestic, and I know that it's a product of that time, but I was just not happy with it, so I put it down. I honestly might just read a plot synopsis of this book and then try to finish the rest of the books and only check them out from the library because I only have the first 4 books. But I was also just really disappointed by this one. Next up, we have my favorite characters, and I couldn't just choose one. I am skipping the one about having a crush on a character because that just doesn't happen to me. So I'm going to talk about 3 characters that I liked. The first one was the librarian in What You're Looking For Is in the Library. I love that there's just a librarian that knows exactly what you need and gives you a selection of books that are going to change your life. I think libraries and librarians are life-changing and can really impact society, and so I just felt like that was really neat. I also thought it was funny that she was compared to Baymax in Big Hero 6 because I love Baymax. Another character that was a favorite was Paloma in The Elegance of a Hedgehog. I really love a precocious child narrator, and she was great. She did not disappoint. She was just so funny, and she just knew so much, and she was a little bit depressed, but I just really appreciated her humor and her observations in the world. And lastly, I really enjoyed the sisters and the mom in What Happened to Ruthie Ramirez. I would not want to hang out with them per se, but I thought that they were really funny together, and it was just like an ensemble cast, which I still think would make a really good miniseries or TV show to have them all together. Next up, we have books that made you cry. I cried in 2 books that I recall this year. The first one was Funny Story by Emily Henry. I was just so caught up in the drama of the main character, Daphne, and all the issues she had with her family. Family drama just makes me sob. What can I say? And I cried happy tears in What You're Looking For Is in the Library. It was a cheesy book. Somebody on Instagram that I was talking to, and I don't know who it was, but they told me that this book felt like chicken soup for the soul, and I couldn't agree more. It was cliched, but it really just tugged at my heartstrings, and it just made me so happy to see that people are capable of starting over no matter where they are in life, and it cheered me up. And I really want to reread it. Next, we have a book that made me happy, and I'm gonna have to go with none other than Magnolia Wu Unfolds It All by Chanel Miller. I checked this book out of the library because of Kat from Lit with Kat, so thank you, Kat, for reminding me that this book exists. This follows a really cute, I think like upper elementary aged girl whose parents own a laundromat in New York City. She has a cute little dog and a couple friends, and the city feels like a character, and her objective is to help reunite people with their lost socks. Which I think is genius. It has really cute illustrations, and it's a book I read in the airport when my flight was delayed, and I have like extreme flight anxiety, so it really helped ease my fears, and I really recommend it if you're looking for a pick-me-up. Next up, we have the most beautiful books that you have received or bought, and I have so many, so I'm just gonna show them to you. I love the cover of I'm Mostly Here to Enjoy Myself. It's very cheeky, pun intended. I also recently bought Schubeck Lubeck, and I just think it's so pretty and huge. I love, 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 love the cover of Welcome to the Hyunam bookshop. I saw it and I just knew I had to buy it. And I just got this out of my bookshelf because I remembered that it's so pretty. If an Egyptian cannot speak English, Emma gave this to me as a gift. So thank you, Emma. I think it's stunning. Lastly, we have goals for the end of the year, and I have many. The first goal that I have is to continue to do monthly TBRs. I had not been doing this previously, and honestly, it has made my life so much easier. I feel like I was just reading mindlessly for the first half of the year. For July, I've been keeping up with a TBR that has a mix of fiction and nonfiction and books that I actually bought that I need to actually read because I own them and I should prioritize them. A second goal that kind of goes along with that one is to read more nonfiction. I feel like I really enjoy a good memoir, and I'm also intimidated by a good memoir. So I want to read more memoirs as well as books that are sociological in nature. I know that that's kind of general, but I really love reading about how groups of people think, feel, and act, and I just want to read more essay collections about that, and I feel like a lot of the nonfiction books on my shelves are about that. A third goal that I have is to continue my reading journal and to get more creative with it. I feel like I've been having so much fun writing down my thoughts about books, and it's just good to have something physical that represents all that I've read and just like my thoughts, like a commonplace journal. I also, fourthly, want to post more on Bookstagram. I started on Bookstagram and I have fallen off the wagon. I really love the community on there. I have so many friends that I made because of Bookstagram, and I just feel like I haven't really posted much in the past months. So I want to continue doing that, and like I also really love photography, so I just want to post vibey, bookish things on there. I also want to reach 1K on BookTube. I am currently almost at 900, so I just want to continue being more consistent on this channel. Thank you if you're watching this and if you're subscribed. My last goal is to read a couple more books in Spanish because I've only just read one book in Spanish this year, and I would like to change that. So this is it. This is my mid-year freakout tag. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still there, I would also love to know what your favorites are so far this year. I need more good books. I need to find at least one favorite book this year. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.